This hour is brought to you by Sweetland Waste and Removal Service, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Well, come on along and welcome aboard to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Coyle and Leary coming to you here on this Friday, December 27th. Hope you've had a great week here in the midst of a holiday season, in the middle of Christmas and New Year's. Lots to get to, lots to talk about, lots going on. First, welcome in Todd Leary.
Good morning. Afternoon, day, whatever we want to call it.
Absolutely.
Depending on what time you got up.
Absolutely. Jake's keeping us on the track. Lots to get to today, man. There's all kinds of stuff going on this weekend. Indiana, of course, the women's team plays Michigan State tomorrow at Simon Scott Assembly Hall, and as their season continues and as they start Big Ten play. But it doesn't get any easier, obviously, with a team that was ranked here very recently. Then on Sunday, the Indiana men's team takes on the Arkansas Razorbacks out of the SEC in a game that the more and more I look at this is a game that Indiana should handle. Arkansas just finished barely beating Valpo at home not too long ago. But we'll see. It's going to be a different type of challenge, Todd, as Arkansas starts. The tallest starter is 6'6", which is a very, very different type lineup than Indiana puts on the floor.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a weird game because on paper, you know, it's one of those. If you look at the schedule of Arkansas and you look at just exactly what you just said, you look at the teams that they've played and the scores that they've had. You know, some of them are just not that impressive. Then you look at they beat a Tulsa team that's really not that bad, and they beat them by 20. And then they go and play Valpo, which Valpo is not a bad team either. But at home, you know, you would expect them to kind of win that game fairly easily, and they don't. They beat a Georgia Tech team that's not bad, but I mean, their resume is not overly impressive. And on paper, they look short. For a college team, they look like they're not going to match up against Indiana. But all of those things, I'm not going to keep throwing the Nebraska game up. But all of those things kind of go out the window once the game starts, and you've got to execute and do the things. If Indiana executes offensively and is able to get the ball where they want to go, I don't think that Arkansas will be able to stop them. On the defensive end, it's going to be a matter of whether Indiana, figures out a way to keep the guards out of the lane and keeps guys, away from knocking down big shots for Arkansas.
A lot of football games today. We've been waiting on it to get started. Had a couple games last night we'll talk about, of course. But on the docket today, North Carolina and Temple. Speaking of Temple, Pat Kraft, athletic director there, probably got to be one of the names that Indiana is looking at to take over the spot there is for Fred Glass when he leaves. But Temple's also coached by a former IU football player, FYI. Michigan State is in action today as they take on Wake Forest. Michigan State's a 3.5-point favorite. What is that? That's the Pinstripe Bowl, I believe. I don't know why I'm looking at these on ESPN app, and I don't know why in the world they don't list what stinking bowl game this is because it has no.
The CBS app lists them.
I'm about to fire ESPN. So.
You're correct. That is the Pinstripe Bowl.
Oklahoma State and Texas A&M. That could be a good game, man. I always enjoy watching Mike Gundy watching the mullet go after that. It's usually a high-scoring game. Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher, a 5.5-point favorite in that game.
Yeah, that game is also down in Houston, Texas, in the Texas Bowl. So probably a little bit of a fan advantage from that standpoint. But Oklahoma State, they're one of those teams that can put up, almost 50 points on you in a heartbeat. And Texas A&M has proven to be that in the past also. But this year, I don't think either one of those teams, really kind of had that MO. They were wouldn't say they slowed it down, but they just weren't capable of scoring. They were down more around 30 points rather than the 50 they usually put up.
We'll go through these at the end of the show and throw some picks out there and see how we do. On paper, the best game of the day is the Holiday Bowl. Number 22 USC, the Trojans, taking on the Iowa Hawkeyes out of the Big Ten. Number 16th ranked Iowa. The Hawkeyes are a 2.5-point favorite. That game starts at 8:00 tonight out in San Diego.
Yeah, I mean USC is, unless you're a USC fan, I mean they're almost just kind of the train wreck. They're like the University of Miami. They're like the train wreck program of the West Coast, and that you never really know what's going to happen with them. I mean, sometimes they look like they're back on track and they're world beaters, and then they'll be on their fifth string quarterback 2 weeks later, and they can't beat anybody. So it's just a weird program, and good opportunity for Iowa to come away with a bowl win in that one.
And then the 10-15 game, I guess they should call that the West Coast game. West Coast Bowl.
We'll call that one tomorrow.
The West Coast Bowl. Air Force taking on Washington State, another one of my favorite characters, and Washington State coach Mike Leach. He's just always an entertainment. He's just always entertaining. But this should be an interesting game. Air Force is they're a pesky little offense, and then Washington State, you don't know what Mike Leach is going to pull out.
Well, Washington State averages 444 passing yards a game, and Air Force averages 130. And they completely flip-flop that, and Air Force averages 292 rushing yards a game, and Washington State averages 72. So, but then scoring-wise, they both average about the same amount of points. So it's just, who knows? Whoever dominates. You know, in these kind of games, if Air Force can control the line of scrimmage and run the ball and get first downs and keep Washington State on the sideline, it'll drive them insane, and they'll have a chance to you know, probably I will call it an upset. Actually, they're favored. But
the duality of opposites is what.
Yeah, it is complete opposites in this one.
I mean that's why I can't wait to watch that game. That's just going to be a weird game because it is complete and total opposite philosophy on offense.
Well, if Washington State jumps out to a lead, Air Force I don't think has the ability to like change their offense and start throwing the ball. I mean,
no, and when that is your meal ticket, it's a lot slower to get to pay dirt when you're running the ball versus throwing the ball. So when you get behind, that is a disadvantage for a running team.
Yeah, no doubt. It'll be interesting to see who gets off to the better start in that one. The coin flip might be a big deal in that one because if Washington State wins the coin flip, if I was them, I'd take the ball first because the last thing you want to do is let Air Force go on a 8-minute drive down the field.
Then, of course, the two biggest games of the day, and that in football at least, the college football playoff semifinals start. Number 1 LSU, they play first. They take on Oklahoma, number 4, the 4th seed Oklahoma Sooners. That's a 4:00 game. LSU is a 12.5-point favorite. Then that's followed at 8:00 with Ohio State and Clemson. Clemson, a 2.5-point favorite. Man, we're going to have fun picking these games today.
Yeah, these are, you know, I think they did the right thing. They put the primetime game as the 2-3 game because the 1-4 game, you know, it's crazy to say this, but I mean, LSU probably in everyone's mind, except for Oklahoma fans, should just walk away with that game. But it's hard to say that against the Jalen Hurt-led offense. So that could be a scary one if they could definitely jump out to a lead. But I think LSU is the better team for sure. But that second game is for sure the one I think most people are up in the air about who could win that one.
But all kinds of games to watch today, tomorrow, Sunday. There's lots to go over, but nothing bigger for us, I guess, is Indiana taking on Arkansas. A game the more and more I look at this, Indiana should handle this game relatively easily. It's just going to be a different type of deal, and dealing with a smaller lineup is going to be – it's going to be interesting to see how Indiana handles that, how it affects Indiana. What it does to them if they're able to keep up with those guys. But Arkansas, they just beat Valpo like 2 or 4 points in Arkansas. So I'm not expecting much, especially when you got a soon-to-be All-American in Trace Jackson Davis leading Indiana and scoring 15 points a game. They're going to pound that paint, and I don't see any way for Arkansas to stop that train.
Well, I mean, there is a way. It's called a zone defense. I mean, if they just pack it in and make Indiana beat them from the outside, you know, who knows? Indiana could win by 30 if they shoot the ball well, and they could struggle to win if they don't shoot the ball well. But there's always a way to keep the ball out of the inside. That's the difficult. the real scary part, I mean, I guess maybe the coaches look at it differently, but the scary part from my perspective is how do you stop the outside shooters? I mean, Indiana has shown, they've had a struggle in doing so, and that's how Notre Dame got back into the ball game, and that's how Wisconsin got off to a great start and beat Indiana, and that's how Nebraska hung around, driving into the lane and kicking it out and making shots. And that's the scary part to me. They could keep Indiana away from getting the ball inside if they just pack it in, but they're going to give up wide open shots.
The Razorbacks are 10-1 in Eric Musselman's first season. Like I said, they're coming off a win right now. They beat Valpo 72-68. Mason Jones is a guard for Arkansas. He missed his first 3-point attempt on the day, but he knocked down two big ones. So that's a guy that Indiana's got to keep an eye on from the outside. One of those people that you're talking about. So that's one of Arkansas's bigger shooters, I guess.
Yeah, and he's 6'5". He's one of their bigger guys.
Players on the starting lineup.
One of their bigger guys too. Yeah, but I mean, he's just he's a junior and he's been there for a few years. He averages 20 points a game. They rely on him a bunch, in pretty much every category. He's a good rebounder as well. So I mean, he's a guy that's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. He's going to shoot a lot. He's going to get himself to the free throw line. He is definitely a guy that can make the 3-pointer. I think Isaiah Jones is probably their best, or I wouldn't say their best. He probably is their best 3-point shooter because he shoots the most of them. Percentage-wise, he's not insanely great. I can't remember exactly what he was. But, I mean, he's just a guy who puts a lot of them up, so obviously they trust him in shooting the basketball. And that's a guy that Indiana, has given Indiana trouble in the past. So, it'll be an interesting game. I'll be excited to see how Indiana gets off to a good start in this game. I mean, it'll factor a bunch into how they play, I think.
Well, Jones has been pretty good for him. He's averaging about 20 points a game, also leads the team in rebounds on 6 per. They also, is it Isaiah Joe or Jones?
I think it's Joe. Yeah, I think you're right.
Isaiah Joe. I mean, that's a weird name.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
No,
right.
it's just I wouldn't have thought that either. I've never seen a guy with the last name. Hey, Joe.
Yeah,
hey, Joe. Point. It gives new meaning to Hey, Joe.
Should be his middle name.
Yeah, he's also one that they rely on for scoring. He's averaging almost 17 points a game. He's shooting 34% from the 3-point range, which to me, that's not all that great. But in today's world, that's slightly above the national average. So
that's above the national average?
Yeah, I think the national average is around 33. It's sad. It's sad to see how far shooting has gone. Now, part of that's because they kind of keep sneaking the 3-point line backwards. Back in your day, it was 19-9 right at the top of the key, but now it's moved back to the international line, and it's not. I mean, let's see, what is it? 20, like 2 feet different now. I mean, that's a pretty good. It's a big
gigantic
jump.
Difference. No doubt. Yeah, no doubt about it. It's a gigantic difference. But I mean, that seems crazy low to me. I can understand if you said it was 37%. That would seem more realistic, but
yeah, it's crazy to me. But I don't think the shooters are as good today either, though. I think we see that a lot across the board. Just shooters aren't as prevalent as they were, and I don't know why that is. Everybody wants to shoot threes, but they're not hitting them as good as well as they used to. And like I said, I know part of that's because of the line moving back, but I don't think that's the whole story. And I don't know. I don't have the story, but I just don't think that's the whole reason.
Yeah, it's 22 feet 1 3/4 inches is what I'm reading it is right now. And yeah, it was 19-9, back when I played. They moved it back to 20 feet 9. What was it, like 10 years ago or so? But I mean, so it's really moved back. I mean, what is that?
Almost 2 feet.
Yeah, but from what it was a year ago, I mean, I don't know, 1.5 feet. It seems like that's a huge drop off.
That's a huge move. I mean, 1.5 feet back, big difference. I mean, I know you just look at it. Oh, that's not that long. Well, but when you're shooting and the accuracy and all that, obviously it is because it's taking the numbers down.
Yeah. Well, Indiana's contributed to that going down. We know that.
Yeah, they've certainly helped over the last couple of years.
Yep.
Indiana looking to get to 12-1 on the season.
Yep.
with a win over Arkansas, a team they played last year in the regular season down in Arkansas. They lost that game 73-72. Deron Davis had on there. It just drives me. I can still see that.
Still that short arm.
See that alligator arm. But get in the basket. That's all it took. But the big guys that Arkansas had last year, they gone. So it's going to be a completely different Arkansas team, different coach, the whole deal. So it's everything's going to be different about this Razorbacks team.
But so think about this, and I know last year I think
Daniel Gafford was the guy last year for Arkansas.
You and I had this conversation I think last year at the end of the season about that one tip in could have truly been the difference between Indiana making the NCAA tournament and not.
I guarantee it, because they were that close to everything.
I know.
And there were so many other ones that were like that, but that would have been
a true road win.
And not only that, when it happened, it could have spurred Indiana on to do better things. It could have just done so many different things, but it took them in the direction it took them.
And we obviously know what that was, and it just was that game. You're right. I can see that just like it was yesterday. It was awful. I mean because that's one. Heck, you and I could make that one today, and it's nothing against him. He short armed it. I mean, it's just the way that it is. But gosh, what a frustrating thought.
Yeah, there's a high school tournament that's been going on. I think the Hardwood Classic. There's a couple guys over there that Mike Roberts for Indiana was over watching. What's that one kid's name? Louis Lamont. He's a 6'5" wing from Notre Dame Prep in Illinois. Apparently shoots the ball pretty well, but 4 for 4 from behind the arc.
Where was the tournament?
I'm trying to see where it was. I'm not seeing where this thing was, but it had to be relatively close. Smart call, producer Jake. We'll look it up after the break. That means we got to hit a break. We appreciate you joining us here on the program. Listening to Coyle and Leary with Indiana Sports Beat from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We'll be back with plenty more right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Ryan Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moyer.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Cole.
This segment is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Coy O'Leary here from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Friday, December 27th. We're right in the middle of Christmas and New Year's. Indiana takes on Tennessee next Thursday in the Gator Bowl, the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl. Of course, a lot's going to happen in between then and now.
When will they leave? Probably like tomorrow? Today, tomorrow?
What is today?
Today's Friday?
They're either gone or they leave today, I'd say.
Yeah. Just wondering. Because they're going. I remember that I heard him mention they were going to the Colts game on Sunday at Jacksonville.
Yeah, so they're either already gone or they leave very soon. I cannot believe the New Orleans Saints is giving that dirtbag a workout. Former receiver in the NFL. I don't even want to say his name. He's one of the biggest dirtbags, Antonio Brown.
No way. Are they really?
It's just disgusts me that, and I hope the Saints lose in the first round of the playoffs. I swear to gosh, I do. That kind of crap. That guy's a dirtbag. He's an absolute dirtbag. And
what makes you say that? I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm literally.
Do you know anything about him? You know.
Well, I know he's like skipped out on 15 teams, but I don't.
It's not that. It's all the stuff that's behind why these teams are getting rid of him. It's all the sexual assault claims.
Okay, say no more. Say no more.
Yeah, it's just
say no more.
And it's just a ton of it. It's one thing after another. He went on to on social media kind of attack one of the women. As if that's going to make it go away.
Anymore. You don't have to explain anymore.
He's just a royal dirtbag. Plus, he's a psychotic, ignorant jackass. I mean, look at how he acts. And that's the kind of guy you want to bring into your team. Why? To me, if you have to sink to that level, you don't deserve anything other than a big fat L.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not arguing with you on that one. The Saints are such a, I don't know. Like I've become a Saints fan because I like Drew Brees.
Exactly. He's a good guy, and all that. And then you dump a bunch of, just dumping a bunch of crap on top of it.
Yeah. I don't know. Just because they're giving him a workout, maybe they think they can change him. Maybe they think that they can be good for him.
Yeah. Well, that'll work. Yesterday in one of the bowl games, Eastern Michigan, the quarterback.
Did you see that?
Into the game. They're driving to try to get a winning score because they're down 34-30 at the time to Pitt. And you get a little fracas, and he goes to, which is the dumbest thing in the world for those of you like us that have played football. You don't hit somebody in the head because it doesn't hurt them.
Right.
It hurts you jackleg.
Yeah.
But anyway, he goes to slap this guy. They called it a punch, but it wasn't really. And the referee steps. This is one of the classics, like you see in boxing, all the boxing clips. The referee steps in at the wrong time,
right?
And he just takes it. They dropped him like a bad habit, too.
Yeah,
hit the ground, but he gets tossed for that. Michigan, Mike Glass, the quarterback, but
it was 4th and 10 anyway. I mean, I'm not saying.
Yeah, no,
he shouldn't have done it. Into the story, like he was supposedly a class act. That's all they talked about the whole game, and he kind of flushed all that down the toilet in a heartbeat. But I mean, it isn't like they were on the 5-yard line. They had like 10 seconds left, and there was 4th and 10. So I don't think they were going to win it anyway. And he was frustrated, and he just got sacked. But that's one you just can't do that.
Absolutely correct. And then there's another. How about Mississippi State? Their quarterback, Garrick Schrader, is out of the Music City Bowl, reportedly because of an injury sustained in a fight with a teammate.
No way.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, when they were announcing the quarterback switch, they're announcing it like, "Oh, we're switching quarterbacks." No mention of the fact that our starting quarterback got into a fight with a teammate and his face is cracked.
Yeah, no, that's. Hey, kids do stupid things, man. You remember being a kid?
Yeah, you know what they called it? They pulled it in Indiana. It's an upper body. They pulled in Indiana in reporting the injury. They called it an upper body injury.
Upper body injury. He's got a broken cheekbone.
He got punched in the face.
He's got a broken cheekbone.
He got punched in the face. That's his upper body injury.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I mean, you remember what it was like being a kid? You did some stupid things.
I hear you. Texted the show from Tim. NBA 3-point line is 23-9. Yeah, I've stood back there and chucked it up. That's a distance, man. And those guys that stand 4 feet behind that, even, it's like crazy. And they're just knocking those shots down. It's nuts.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, when that's what you do all day, every day, it becomes a lot easier.
Ryan from Michigan says it is wild about the 3-pointers. And how about Antoine, who is Coach Davis's son? He can flat out stroke the jumper. I had a chance to watch him last year with me living in Michigan. Pretty awesome. Also, we have been playing Arkansas a lot over the last 2 years, so it'll be fun. They have good guards. It would be great for us to start playing better on ball defense against their guards. They're certainly going to get that chance. So, yeah, Indiana played Arkansas twice last year. They end up catching them a second time in the NIT, which Indiana won that game 63-60. But
the big fella didn't play in that one, right? I don't think so. One out.
Yeah, I think
that one out.
He gone. Yeah. So and that was at home.
Yeah.
For Indiana,
the thing, Isaiah Joe, that guy, and I went back and looked at the stats on him. I mean, he shot 11 3-pointers in the first game last year, and I think 8 3-pointers in the second game last year. So he's a guy that's going to put it up for sure this weekend. You can bet on that one.
Make sure you hit us up on the text line. Questions, comments, 812-269-6367. No, Josh is listening now. He's got him a new radio for one of his trucks. Of course, he said he already listens to us in his other truck. We appreciate you, Josh. But, yeah, hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367. Tim says, do we see more Samson James in the Gator Bowl? Absolutely. I think I don't know that Stevie Scott is going to be ready. The last word was more of the same. We'll know today. We'll know later. It's always later. It's always we'll know later. So I'm thinking he's not going to play. But again, that's a guess, and it's hard to guess from Indiana's
what
information.
Was his injury? What was his injury?
Lower body injury.
Knee.
It's either upper or lower body. That's how they specify. Upper body injury, lower body injury, lower leg injury. I don't just call it out.
Right.
I mean, come on, stop with these games. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean it is, but it's always been that way, and it's not going to change. So I mean, there's no sense getting really worked up on it.
Can't change it. Can't do anything about it.
Man, I know you're not a huge NBA fan. Ryan's comment a minute ago about Antoine Davis, and I love Antoine, and I love Mike Davis. They're both good people. But I look at their stat lines all the time, and it made me think of something. So it's not about Antoine, but it made me think of something in the NBA game. Did you watch any of the NBA games the other day? Did you watch Houston and Golden State by chance?
Not a dribble.
Yeah, I didn't either. But I heard that I like to watch the talk shows the next day. I like to hear what other talk shows are talking about and saying. And I heard him talking about what a good game Russell Westbrook had because he had 30 points. You know how many times he shot in the ball game?
86.
32. He shot 32 times and had 30 points. I'm telling you.
How many times James Harden shoot a game?
This was what was crazy. In that game, he only shot 18 times.
Wow.
I know. Is that weird? Like, how mentally screwed up does that team have to be?
Yeah.
James Harden is arguably, and I'll say he's top 3, but he's arguably the best offensive player in all of the NBA. And I cannot I love basketball. I think you know how much I love basketball. And I cannot stand to watch him play. Because all he does is dribble, shoot. And it's not basketball. It's a big giant one-on-one game that you get paid a lot of money for. I know you didn't ask me to rant about that. I just when I think of Antoine Davis, he does a lot of the same stuff. He shoots more than 20 times a game.
I'm wondering if it was not a selfish move on Mike Davis's part not to tell his son, hey, you're pretty good. You could play at a big-time college and get a lot of eyes on you and probably do a lot better for yourself if you go someplace besides Detroit to play college basketball.
Yeah, but he wouldn't be shooting 20 sometimes a game as a sophomore.
He may not have to though, but he may be better, be coached better, have more success, have more fun in college. Actually, get to go to the NCAA tournament, participate in it, do things like normal good college players get to do. But no, Mike Davis didn't suggest that for his son. It doesn't seem like. I'm going to guess. Guess. He says, why don't you go play for me? I need you because if not, I'm going to be coaching at Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, didn't he get that Detroit job? Was it a package deal? Like he brings his son, that's where he goes?
I'm not going to say that, but
I don't have. Is that illegal? I don't even know that.
No, it's not illegal. I'm just saying I don't want to suggest because I don't know that.
Yeah,
so I won't suggest it. But again, I'll just say the fact that I think he's being selfish by not telling his son to go play at a school where you're going to get recognized, where you're going to be seen, where you can achieve so much more.
Antoine averages 25 points. This team is 2-10 right now, and keep in mind, I hope you understand this.
So he's playing on a 2-10 Detroit team. On top of that,
I really really respect and like Mike Davis. He's a good person. He's a fun person. He's a good family man. I've known
one
Antoine,
thing you did not say there is he's a good coach.
I love Mike Davis as a person. He's a good person. I've known Antoine since he was a baby, and they were at IU. I mean, the kid. It's weird to see him be a man now because he was a child when I knew him before. But he's averaging 25 points a game. Okay, so you look at that and you think, okay, this kid can legit play. And in what did I say the record was? 2-10?
2-10.
Yeah. He is averaging almost exactly 20 shots a game at 25 and averaging 25 points a game. And I'll just tell you that's I mean, he shoots 29% from the 3-point line. And he plays 39.3 minutes a game out of 40. And so could he get that somewhere else? I mean, you make a decision when you go to college of whether you want to be – he's going to be talked about right now. Like he's got to be close to leading the nation in scoring, even though it's 2-10 Detroit. So his goal may not be to get to the Sweet 16 or –
Right. I mean, he's going to be seen, obviously, for NBA purposes. But it just can't be all that much fun playing on a 2-10 Detroit team on top of that. Who the hell are you playing every week? Akron, the Zips, Frosty the Snowman. I mean, I would think that I would rather play for a big time team that played in big time games on big time stages.
And that's a decision, honestly, sit down and think about it. That's a decision you have to make as a highly recruited high school kid. I mean, honestly, I live the same life. That's the same decision I had to make. I mean, I go to Indiana and I be a role player, or I go to Butler and I can be the star of the team. And believe me, Butler people are going to be like, oh, you couldn't play at Butler. I know they're going to jump all over that. But when I played, Butler wasn't very good. Okay. But Butler offered me everything under the sun. Like I'd have started as a freshman, all the crap that goes along with it. But, a lot of little schools did that. The Ball States of the world, Indiana State, the schools that if I would have wanted to go there and be the star, I mean, Con Smith, who's a former IU assistant, was out at Utah State. And I mean, he was begging me to come out there and play and promising he designed a whole playbook that showed all the plays they'd run for me, all this different stuff. And, as a kid, you have to. It's a big decision that you make, and I wanted to play, obviously, for Coach Knight, and I wanted to play at a school that was going to go to the NCAA tournament every year and have a chance to win a national championship. And winning a high school high school state championship was such an awesome thing that I wanted to go to college and try to win a national championship. And we weren't not successful, but I don't regret that decision.
The only reason you won a state championship is because Kokomo beat Floyd Central.
The only reason we won the championship game by 20 is because Kokomo beat Floyd Central.
Whatever. Oh, that would have been a great showdown.
The Gibson. What did that team have? The Gibson brothers.
Yeah.
Is that who they had?
Yeah. As far as their front line, yeah.
Is that who their good players were? The Gibson.
Yeah,
brothers?
And they had some other guy at guard that was shooting.
Yeah, not familiar with him.
Pat Graham. Oh man, yeah. Did Kokomo have anyone of the name on their team? Was anybody else in that Final Four? I mean, you had you and Eric Montross on your team, and you got Pat Graham on Floyd Central. I'm trying to think who were the other two teams. Kokomo was one of the other teams. I don't know.
South Bend St. Joe was a team we played in the morning game.
Anybody on there of name?
I mean, they had a couple guys that went and played in college somewhere, but nowhere big. I can't remember who they had.
Cool. We got to hit a break. Jake's getting on us. We got plenty more coming back. Plenty more to talk about. More Indiana basketball and women's football. And the college football playoffs are starting too, man. Stay with us. We're back with more here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make it tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Coyle Leary with you here on this Friday, December 27th. Weekend in between Christmas and New Year's. Next week, Indiana takes on the Tennessee Volunteers at the 75th anniversary of the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl in Jacksonville, Florida. That's a 7 o'clock kickoff, I believe. Indiana, a 1.5-point underdog at the moment. Basically a pick 'em. This weekend, the Hoosiers take on the Arkansas Razorbacks at the Simon Scott Assembly Hall on Sunday.
Weird game time on that for a Sunday.
What time is it?
6.
Ridiculous.
Does that make any sense?
Football. It's all about football. Trying to catch in between the.
Oh, yeah. Well, why is it on Sunday? I don't know. Because Saturday, I don't know. I could complain no matter when it was. I'll make something up to complain about.
We'll after the game with Todd Leary is going on, we
just don't know where yet.
Don't know where yet. We haven't gotten around to taking care of that, only because Yogi's is closed for Christmas or for
Christmas party, company Christmas party. Yep.
But we'll send that information out today. That'll be determined, and we'll get that information to you. The women, they play tomorrow at Simon Scott Assembly Hall. Taking on Michigan State in a game, another tough game. Michigan State was ranked here recently, so this is another tough game for the Hoosiers, and let's see if they can continue the season as it has gone. Of course, coming off of a tough loss to UCLA, which they were terrible. I'm saying that only because they've been so good all year long. They just weren't good in that game,
right?
I'm not going to give a lot of credit to UCLA about it because I saw them miss too many open shots, too many bunnies. I don't know if they were just too jacked up playing a big time name. I mean, UCLA is a big name. I don't care what sport you're playing. It's a big name. And they were a top 10 team. They had them on the floor there in Bloomington, and maybe just got too jacked up. But UCLA didn't shoot with a flip either. They both were terrible that day. But they got Indiana in a hole early. And Indiana missed most of their shots early on and got into a hole that they just could not climb out of. Something that we haven't seen happen to them this season. So, sure, that was an anomaly, and see them bounce back against Sparty tomorrow.
Yep, good opportunity for them to get rolling in the Big Ten, get off to a good start, and get back on track. That's kind of the game you want to play. You can look at it both ways. I mean, it could be a good thing, for Indiana to, play an easier team after they just didn't have a good performance at home. But, man, it's just one of those situations that if they can really bounce back and play well, they'll look past that UCLA game as an anomaly and continue on and get rolling again.
Ryan texted in, was talking about Antoine Davis earlier. He said he broke Steph Curry's freshman record last year, and Detroit Mercy plays a very difficult non-conference schedule.
Well, yeah, they do because they have to to try to get some quality wins.
Do you know who coached at Detroit a long time ago?
Dick Vitale.
Yes.
Yep, I do know that. Only because he brings it up in almost every game he does.
Is that his only coaching experience?
I can't.
He was so good he went from Detroit to not coaching.
Yeah, I would say that's probably fairly accurate.
Tim,
you know what though? If a guy's got a calling, I think he found his because he's
lying.
I'm not a gigantic Dick Vitale fan when it comes to broadcasting a game, but
his shtick kind of wore thin. I mean, at first everybody loved it. Oh, the diaper daddies, the PTPer. It was all kind of cool for a while, and then it's like, all right, dude, enough of that. Tone it down.
He needed a publicist or somebody, an agent or somebody to figure out a way to kind of tone him down, because he just became
a character.
Difficult to listen to after a while.
But
hey,
he is. But that's who he is, and so it's not really fake. It's just he morphed into that, and that's who he is now. I think if you ran into him in a restaurant, hey, how you doing, man? The food is great. It's a pre-PT beer, baby. I can see him sitting in a restaurant doing
Well, he does because one, let's just call it what it is. I mean, he's up there in age, and he's not as sharp as he used to be. and I mean, I'm being serious. If you hear him do a game right now, he has two goals when he does a game. And
get to Indiana and Kentucky to play.
Talk about his charity that he does, and the Jimmy V Classic, and all that, and figure out some way to use some of his taglines that he's used at some point. You know,
he's a diaper daddy.
What's his airplane? What's his airplane when he uses?
He's got an
part
airplane.
Of the airport team or something like that.
Oh, high flyer.
I don't know. He's got so many different little things he's used. So he tries to work some of those back in to stay kind of relevant. But the stuff the guy's done for, raising money for cancer research and that stuff. I mean, he's a good person.
We'll have Dick on probably in January. We'll wait till we get around to maybe when he's doing an IU game, but we'll get Dick on and talk about all that stuff.
Which hopefully is never.
Tim texts in, says that where did I start? How about this Christmas gift? Lamar Jackson gave his offensive line, his entire line, Rolex watches.
I mean,
when you can hand out a Rolex watch like it's a lunchbox, that's you make Oprah money.
Seriously, if you look at that in reality, it's like me giving you and Jake
lunch.
No, it's not. It's not even remotely close. It's like me giving you a styrofoam cup.
I mean, buying us lunch.
No way. That's 10 times. That's a million times more.
Yeah,
that's not even close. I mean, for what a Rolex watch costs to Lamar Jackson would be like me handing you a sheet of paper. Like it's nothing to him, and he probably didn't pay for them anyway. Probably didn't have to.
He also asked, who makes it further in the tournament this year, Indiana or Kentucky? Well, first of all, both those teams have to make the tournament.
Yeah, and Kentucky's going to struggle to make it. Indiana will make the tournament. Kentucky is going to struggle to make it.
I think Indiana will struggle just as much as Kentucky, only because they play in a much, much more difficult conference. The Big
Indiana
Ten
will have 24 wins minimum. They will get into the tournament.
Hot take.
They'll have 24 wins.
So So
they'll win 12 games in the Big Ten.
That means they're going to win 12 games in the Big Ten?
Yep.
How many road wins is that? Because they don't play 12 games at home, I can tell you that.
They play 10 and 10, right?
Okay. Who are they going to beat on the road?
Nebraska.
Crickets.
And then they'll get another one. They'll steal another. I'll tell you what.
I can tell you
if Maryland, I'll tell you right now, if Maryland plays like they played against Seton Hall, Indiana will win by 20 next week. And I promise you that.
That won't be the case. They won't play that way.
It may not be, but I mean, Maryland game is up in the air. I mean, that's a toss-up.
Indiana could have won that game at Maryland last year,
right? And they will have an opportunity. I'm telling you, I'm higher on this team than you are.
Well, I'm not. I'm realistic about the Big Ten. It's not the team as much as I look ahead. I'm like, ooh, wow, it's just a bloodbath, man. Every game is tough. Every game at home will be tough, much less on the road.
I mean, they will have a chance to win. They could win back-to-back at Rutgers, at Nebraska.
And also that means they're not going to lose a single home game.
I got you. They'll have a good chance at winning at Minnesota, at Illinois, at Purdue. They've got 5 really, really good chances of winning, and that's saying that Maryland plays great at home, and Penn State plays great at home, and Ohio State plays great at home, and Michigan plays great at home. Indiana's going to have 5 good opportunities to win on the road. I'm going to say they're going to lose at least 1 home game, but I will say they're going to win at least 3 road games. Just mark that down. Just remember that I said that.
Alan says, good morning. Well, that was actually yesterday.
Alan Henderson?
No, I tried to get him on the show, by the way. You need to hit him up. That was yesterday, but good morning, Alan. Hope you're listening today. Where was I? Oh, yeah.
Hang on. Back to who said Detroit had a good schedule. Was that Ryan?
Yes, Ryan from Michigan.
I mean, they play.
He says they play a tough. He said not a good. He said they play a difficult non-conference schedule, and for Detroit, that's probably the case.
They're 2-10. Yeah, I mean, they lost to Notre Dame 71-110.
Well, I mean, we're talking Detroit here, not Michigan.
Yeah. They played Louisiana, UC Irvine, Wyoming, Ohio, Kent State, Toledo, Eastern Michigan, Northeastern. Come on, Ryan. Come on, Ryan.
That sounds like
I like
schedule.
Antoine and Mike Davis too, but come on, let's not sugarcoat this.
Now, one thing about Indiana, I've seen several posts suggesting that Indiana's remaining schedule will be the toughest in the country, which the only thing that makes me not dispute that, but I would think someone like Minnesota would have the most difficult schedule.
When Indiana's on there, right?
Yeah, it's because they have to play an Indiana team that's better than they are, along with the Michigan States and all those other guys. So it's just a little surprising, but not surprising at all that it's extraordinarily difficult because we already know that. The Big Ten is just, like I said, a meat grinder. But I would think that someone like Minnesota or Wisconsin or someone like that who's not as good as Indiana would have a tougher schedule.
Yeah, I mean, here's what's crazy is in 3 weeks from now, we're going to really know what kind of chance this team has because they've got at Maryland to start in January, then Northwestern at home and Ohio State at home. I mean, if you lump these together in 3-game stretches, you take 2 out of 3 out of that, right?
Yeah.
You take 2 out of 3 out of that.
Is there a road game in there?
Yeah, at Maryland. But you got Ohio State at home and Northwestern at home.
Uh-huh.
If you can win 2 out of 3 of those.
If they can win 2 out of 3 of those, that's a successful trio of trips.
Okay, then your next 3 is at Rutgers, at Nebraska, and Michigan State at home.
If you can get 2 out of 3 of those.
I think you get 2 out of 3 out of those.
If you can get 2 out of 3 of those, that's a successful run as well.
And then you've got Maryland at home and at Penn State, at Ohio State.
Ooh. If you can get 2 out of 3 of those,
you get 2 out of 3 of those.
You got Tiger blood. You're winning.
You're leading the Big Ten. I would say you're leading the Big Ten.
If you can do that, but that's the thing. It's a lot more difficult than it looks on paper, and it looks difficult on paper. I mean, it's just going to be tough. We just seen. I saw teams win, and I'm like, going, gee whiz, how the heck did they win? But yeah. Roger from Evansville says, you mentioned the last shot Arkansas game last year, but the Purdue game at IU upset more. Yeah, that one did. I forget about that.
That's a good point. Yeah.
The thing is, you go back and you look at the picture, Rich's name Lurch, Harms, he's got his right hand on Juwan Morgan's shoulder, catapulting himself off him. He's already 7 foot. And now he's catapulting himself off of Juwan Morgan's shoulder and then taking his left hand and just tipping the ball in. There's a picture as clear as day of that. Yeah, that did suck to lose that one, for Indiana to lose that one at home.
Yep, you are right. And for a whole bunch of reasons. But yeah, that one definitely hurt. But I mean, I guess I wasn't saying the Arkansas game was the game that cost them the most. I was literally saying that tiny little tip in
I agree.
Could have catapulted them into the tournament. I mean, just tiny little tip in.
Yep, absolutely.
That you would make 99 times out of 100.
That one probably would have helped them more than had they won the game against Nebraska at home. I mean, that was a bad loss at home. It's a bad loss. But I think that win would have been a better win because it was on the road and all that stuff.
Yep.
But so I agree with you. I mean, I think it did, and then that started. That had to be a huge disappointment for them. And then of course we knew what followed. They lost 12 in a row.
Yeah, and his point is probably even more valid in the fact that win over Purdue would have been a win over an NCAA tournament team. So it definitely would have gotten Indiana in. The difference is
it's just another one that would have.
Sure, it is. And I wasn't saying the Arkansas game was more important. I was literally just saying that tiny little tip in for a 6'9" guy. I mean, it's literally like throwing a piece of trash in the trash can. I mean,
we talk about all this. Indiana's tournament life came down to the Big Ten tournament. All they had to do was beat an Ohio State team that they were capable of beating, that they should have beaten at home, that they lost to, on a last-second tip-in, I think, last year. But that's all they had to do, win one game in the Big Ten tournament. That's all you got to do. And they couldn't do it. So, I mean, to me, they didn't deserve to be in there last year because they lost too many games in a row. They lost too many games that they could have won. And it's like, at some point, like, okay, well, you got to do something. So, but there were many opportunities. Hopefully it does not come down to it this year. But then this year, the conference is even tougher than it was last year.
Okay, Jake. Quit yelling at us, Jake.
Hey, that's his job, man.
I know.
If somebody doesn't keep us in line.
He's just so mean. He's just so mean.
Hey, well, he used to be nice, and I had to crack the whip and say, you got to get mean, man. I said, you got to tell me what to do. But we got plenty more text to get to. Keep them coming. 812-269-6367. Plenty to talk about. Indiana men and women's basketball coming up this weekend. Football and the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl next week. Plus tons of bowl games this weekend to talk about. All that and more. Stay tuned. We're back with all that at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios with Coy O'Leary as soon as we come back.
Make sure you do it right.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
Hey, this is Jordan Halls, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Coyle Lee with you here on this Friday, December 27th. We're in between Christmas and New Year's season. Another text in talking about Indiana basketball. Talk about a rough stretch. Well, yeah, this is definitely going to be rough. At the end of January, starting on the 23rd, Indiana has Michigan State, the 26th Maryland, 29th Penn State, and on the 1st Ohio State. So they got 4 games in 9 days against ranked teams. That is going to be a brutal stretch. If they can go 2-2 in that, they'll be living large. You could go 0-4. I mean, that's just a tough stretch. It's certainly going to go a long way in determining how the season goes.
Yeah, they'll Michigan State sucks. They'll beat Michigan State, and they'll beat Maryland at home.
Well, losing Josh Langford hasn't helped them, that's for sure.
But did they lose him? I mean, he hasn't played a second this year, has he?
No, I mean, they don't have him.
He hasn't played in 2 years.
They don't have him. That's the fact.
Indiana lost Romeo Langford. The guy hasn't played for 2 years.
Well, they was expecting to have him. Indiana wasn't expected to have him.
I think the bigger loss for them is the kid from Marquette not being eligible. That would have made them good.
Well, that's something, and they were expecting that, and I understand Izzo being pissed about that. I mean, everybody else is being granted a waiver to play, and it's like, and they don't give you a reason why. Either way, it's either yes or no. Well, why? Why is this one a no? How is this different than this guy? And you look at them on paper, they are identical, yet the NCAA determines, well, this guy can play and this guy can't.
Yeah,
it's got to be an either or.
There's got to be more black and white. There's got to be more black and white.
Absolutely. No, that's part of the problem with the NCAA. There's no transparency with those jacklegs.
And that's what I mean. You want to know how sure everyone I think was that he would be eligible, that Michigan State would have those players available, is because I'm almost positive that's why they were ranked number 1. That's why they were preseason ranked number 1, expecting to have those guys, because I think everyone thought for sure there isn't any way the NCAA is not going to, allow this kid to play. And I was shocked. It's just crazy. I mean, that Hauser kid is a 6'8" or 9" shooter that's always under control. I mean, he would have made them scary good playing with what's that point guard's name?
For Cassius Winston?
Yeah, Cassius Winston. I mean, kid,
and he's dealing with the loss of his brother, the unexpected loss of his brother.
Just a terrible. I mean, you talk about everything that could have gone wrong for that team darn near happening early in the season. I mean, it has. I mean, that kid, outside of a kid being from Indiana, it's hard for me to root for a kid more than I'll root for him. I mean, that's just a crazy thing to deal with.
Michigan State has lost a ton. You got the kid that's not eligible, you pointed out. Then you lose Josh Langford. Then you haven't lost Cassius Winston, but he's been affected, no doubt. So that team, they were a preseason number 1 because of what they were expecting, and it hasn't worked out.
Yeah, no, getting Joey Hauser would have just been ridiculous for how good they would have been. But because they don't have him, and looking at the lineup that they have right now, when Michigan State comes to Indiana should easily be an 8 to 10 point favorite.
Where did Hauser's brother? Hauser's brother transferred to Wisconsin, right?
Did he? I don't know.
I think they both
did. They
left.
both.
I think they both left.
I think he graduated.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking. One of them I was curious as if he was real eligible or not.
No, one of them was a sophomore. One of them was a senior. Sam Hauser, I think, was his brother.
I was thinking they were twins.
No, I don't think so.
Roger from Evansville wants to know, how come every picture of Todd in an IU uniform looks like he just graduated from boot camp? Sam Hauser plays at Virginia, Todd Leary.
Really?
Is he eligible at Virginia?
Well,
that's a big question.
They're not the same age, though, are they? They're not the same age.
It doesn't matter. They both transferred at the same time.
A graduate transfer would make a difference. A graduate transfer is immediately eligible.
I don't think he was a grad transfer.
He's older. I think he's older. I think he's 2 years older. I think he probably transferred his senior year. What do you think about that, Jake? Yeah. So he's 2 years old. He was a senior, and the other kid, or he was a junior, and the other kid was a freshman.
Was he a grad? See if he's a grad transfer, Jake, because that will just
I don't think he's playing for Virginia because I've seen them play. Yeah, see, he hasn't played either.
Okay, so they forced them both to sit out. That at least that's fine in that, but it still does not explain the differences that we're talking about. It's nuts.
Yeah,
on how they do stuff.
But that Michigan State team coming into Indiana, that should be a win. That would be a bad loss in my opinion.
I agree with you. What about the boot camp deal?
Yeah, I mean
that is true. I realize that you had it high and tight
haircuts
going on, man.
I had some bad haircuts. I'm the first one to admit it. I mean, I'm not proud of some of the. I'm not proud of the shorts I had to wear. I'm not proud of the nipple rawing
family show
Coach made us wear.
It's a family show.
Coach Knight forced it, not me. I'm not proud of my haircuts.
Ryan from Michigan says 26 wins for IU. Todd and Jim. I remember Todd saying 14-6 in conference.
Gosh, man, do you remember everything?
That ain't. Let me tell you, Ryan.
I tried to back off of that.
That ain't happening. There ain't no 14-6 in this conference happening. As a matter of fact, there's only maybe one team that can go 14-6 in that conference.
Dang you, Ryan! Would you quit taking notes on this stuff? Like I did say, 14 wins in conference. I did, and I backed it down to 12 this morning after going through and trying to be more not as much of a homer, but a little bit more realistic. And I swear, I truly believe 13 would be about what I think they should do. 14 would be awesome. 12 is conservative on my part.
I can't see him winning more than 10 just because of.
Okay, but just listen to this, and let's just talk this one game by game. And let's look at 5-game stretch: at Rutgers, at Nebraska, at Purdue, at Illinois, and at Minnesota.
They can lose 4 out of those 5. They can lose 4 out of those 5. I'm not saying they will.
They can lose all 5. Okay,
yeah, I doubt
but
that.
if you look at this team, they should win 4 out of the 5, and probably. More realistic, will win 3 out of the 5.
Last year when they lost 12 straight, how many games in there was the games they should have won?
You cannot compare this year.
I'm just
totally different team.
I'm just making a point and asking the question. If you look back at those 12 game stretch, how many of those games were games you would have said they should have won that game?
Okay, this is gonna sound terrible on my part, but I'm gonna tell you, with Romeo on the team last year, I probably would not have picked them. I would have not have picked them to lose all 12, but I wouldn't have picked win that many of them. I did not like last year's team. It's very difficult to play on a team and to have a team and coach a team where you've got one player that demands so much. And he didn't demand it like
telling
saying,
the team,
hey, everybody throw me the ball. It's what came with it. It was the whole Damon Bailey thing or whatever. I mean, Damon Bailey on last year's team would have been difficult to play with. Thankfully, Damon Bailey came into a situation with Calbert Chaney that it didn't have to be that way. Anytime Damon could shoot and get open, it was welcomed. Calbert welcomed all of that. I mean, that was a good thing. But he didn't have to come in and shoot 20 sometimes a game. He didn't have to come in and average 25 points in order for the team to be successful. And that's what was expected out of Romeo. And I don't want Indiana to be that way. That's why I don't want one 5-star recruit that is the best player on the team by far. I love the makeup of the team we have right now. I do wish they were a year farther along. I wish that there's a piece or two they could add to it, but you cannot compare this year's team to last year's team. It's not.
Well, I'm not comparing the teams.
I know you're not. I'm just saying, there's no 12-game stretch this year. Like, they're not capable of losing 12 games in a row like that.
Right. And it's certainly going to be more difficult this year, even though the Indiana team is better itself. The conference is also better. So
yeah, I mean, that's why I said early on it's really going to dictate. Indiana has a tough that end of January is real tough. But look at the beginning of the schedule. Okay, so let's just say they lose at Maryland. Let's say they start out losing at Maryland. Okay, then they've got Northwestern at home. That should be a win. Here's a 3-game stretch that's real important. Ohio State at home. If Indiana can win that game, then they've got at Rutgers and at Nebraska. If you could win Northwestern, Ohio State, both at home, and at Rutgers and at Nebraska, and win 4 games in a row, and have 2 road wins, that'll be a pretty nice start. And that includes a loss at Maryland to start the year out, or to start January out.
Tim says Indiana will win 8 out of 9 home games and 4 road games to get to 12.
Thank you, Tim. I agree with Tim.
I'm not disagreeing with
8 out of 9. Don't we play 10? We play 10 though, right? They'll win. So he's saying 8 out of the next 9.
No, 8 out of. Oh, that's. Well, they've already
played one. Nebraska.
Yeah, 8 out of the next 9 home games.
Okay. 8 out of the remaining 9.
Which I'm not saying that they can't do that. And I'm not saying anybody can do anything in this season. I've already learned enough that anybody can beat anybody on any given day. I mean,
the home games are Northwestern. That's a win. Ohio State, Michigan State, Maryland, Purdue, Iowa, Penn State, Minnesota, Wisconsin. You end the year. Indiana has that tough stretch in the middle, but if they can get off to a good start, they really have a chance at winning the Big Ten. Listen to the last 5 games. Penn State, at Minnesota, the last 6 games. At Minnesota, you should win. Penn State at home, you should win. At Purdue, 50-50. Got a chance at winning. At Illinois, you should win.
That's a 50-50, I think.
It's maybe a 50-50. If you win one of those 2, it's good. And then you got Minnesota at home and Wisconsin at home to end the year. I mean, you put yourself in a good position, you win
4-2. They should go 4-2 in that stretch. If they get at least minimum 4-2 in that stretch.
And very possible 6-0.
Yeah,
very, very possible.
I think a realistic 4-6 is more, or 4-2 is more realistic.
At Minnesota is not a stretch. Penn State at home, they should win. At Purdue, Indiana is way better talent-wise than Purdue. I like Purdue. I like the way they play.
But you're playing in a tough environment against a good coach. Good coach.
They could win that game. At Illinois is Jekyll and Hyde. You could beat them by 20. You could lose by 20.
They're a lot tougher at home than they are on the road. That's for certain.
Yeah. And then Minnesota at home and Wisconsin at home, you're going to beat both of those teams. They suck.
Well, their game. The thing about those games is you got a big target on your back because they have nothing. They're going to be playing for nothing other than
but you're going to be playing for a Big Ten title. I mean, if they've got themselves in the position, if they can get off to a good start, that's why the beginning of January, between now and January the 18th, is insanely important for the Hoosiers.
Tim says that he thinks Indiana's going to win their next 3 games, get ranked, and then lose to Ohio State. He says it always happens that way.
But Ohio State game will be at Indiana. And if they do get ranked, I mean, who cares?
People do. Truly. The fans. I know you can't grasp this theory. The fans care. It drives them insane that they're not ranked. And they do care. They care about it every day. Every ranking that comes out, they look at every vote, every single thing about it. They look at every bit of it. And when they're not ranked, it drives them nuts. And especially when they see them at 11-1 and not ranked, it drives them crazy. But the reason they're not is the media and the coaches, they're still reluctant on this Indiana team. Sure. They've seen them. They had a good game against Florida State, kind of caught Florida State at the right time, but they won. They had a great win to me, a neutral court win over UConn because that was as a quasi home game for UConn.
Sure.
So to me, that's a good win. And let's see, they had one other
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame was okay. See, to me, Notre Dame.
It's a quality win.
It's all right. It's better than beating Detroit. I can take that.
Yeah, and it is.
The jury's still out on. They want to see them beat somebody that they're not supposed to beat or that they consider the.
But here's what. Okay, so take people that don't look at it, as detailed as you and I do. Take somebody from out in Arizona or whatever who's got a vote on who gets ranked. Okay, they're looking at an Indiana team that lost Romeo Langford. And added Trace Jackson Davis, but nationally they don't really know that much about him. And he's really the only addition. So in their mind, this is an Indiana team that's probably worse than last year's because they lost a guy who was drafted in the first round of the NBA. And so what would make them any better? And so they're not looking at what Indiana really is or has. They're looking at, in my opinion, Indiana got better because they're more of a team. Romeo Langford's one of the best players that has ever gone to Indiana University. And I respect the heck out of him. I honestly do. But Indiana as a team is a better team this year without him. And I don't mean that to be a terrible person or pick on a kid, but it's just factual. That's just the way that it is. It's hard to play with a guy that commands that kind of attention with the ball. It just is.
The loss that Indiana incurred, that to me is hurting them in the national scene.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, they're undefeated right now. They're ranked 8th. They're ranked 11th.
Or if they lose to a Florida State or a UConn or someone like that instead of losing to Wisconsin, it doesn't hurt nearly as bad. But you lost to a crappy Wisconsin team that is struggling to stay above 500 right now at 6-5.
And it was a Saturday game that was on national TV, and everyone in the nation had a chance of seeing it, and that was their version of seeing what Indiana is.
And that was coming off of the Florida State win, wasn't it?
It was. If I was them, I wouldn't have ranked Indiana either. I mean, I get where they're coming from, but we all look at it. I mean, we look at it much more detailed than they do. And this team, we could go down and look at teams 12 through 25, and I honestly can make an argument as to why Indiana is as good as that team.
Absolutely. This season is a crazy season.
It is. It's awesome. That's why we love it.
There are at least probably 10 teams, 8 to 10 teams, that may end up winning the national championship. There is no way in the world. There's no way in the world anybody, I don't care who they are, can say, well, this team is probably going to win the national championship. There's nobody. There is no one.
I can say one thing. I can tell you one team that has an advantage over everyone else, and they're going to be a number 1 seed, barring 4 injuries.
Gonzaga. Yeah, they play nobody the rest of the year.
I get it. I totally agree with you. But that does not discount the fact of they are really, really good. They are insanely talented. They don't play anybody. They're like Clemson in football. They don't play anybody from now on, but they are insanely talented and they're very well coached, and they're not going to, if they lose any more games, it's going to be one more game for the rest of the year. So they're going to get a number 1 seed.
Would you rather play a schedule that Gonzaga is going to play from now to the tournament, or go through the Big Ten where you know you're going to take some knocks, you know you're going to take a couple L's, but you're going to get beat up enough and kind of punched around that when the tournament comes around, you should be kind of game ready?
I mean, here's what they do. So they front load their schedule. I mean, you look at them right now. They've already played Oregon. They've already played
I get that, but you can't compare the preseason.
They've played Washington. Schedule. They've played Arizona. They played North Carolina. I mean, listen to that. Listen to that. That's
in a normal year. North Carolina's terrible.
I agree with you. You want to hear a fun one?
I know what you're saying. They have to preload their schedule because of that, and I agree with you. But it still does not equal to me of playing 20 games in the Big Ten Conference.
You want to hear a fun one?
Yes.
You want to know who they play on Monday?
This Monday, Pacific.
Detroit. The line, I'm going to go ahead and set the line on this game right now.
22.
That game is at Gonzaga.
Oh, my gosh.
The line on that game will be 39.
Oh, come on.
39, I bet you. So I bet it's more than 35. If it's less than 35, we will take a poll and bring in all our fans' money, and we're all going to go to Vegas and bet it all on Gonzaga, because they will win that game by closer to 50 than 20.
How many does Davis get?
He'll shoot a lot. I mean, it's probably a nationally. No, it's not. It's not a nationally televised game. But
they don't televise those kind of junk games. What are you talking about?
So, in answer to your question of what you asked me about, would I rather have their schedule for what they have set up? Yes, I would rather have their schedule for the remainder of the year, because they're going to get a number 1 seed, and that is that important. It really is. A 1 and 2 seed. 1 and 2 are pretty much the same. I mean, 1's a little bit of an advantage over it, but having a 1 or 2 seed is gigantically easier.
Does that not give Gonzaga a distinct advantage?
Sure it does.
Over every team that has to play in the Big Ten and go through this meat grinder,
sure,
because there's probably going to be one number 1 seed out of the Big Ten, unless somebody emerges.
Unless Ohio State goes crazy and unless they just run away with it. And then there's a real close second place. I mean, that would be the only way. But I can't imagine. I mean, think of unless we just get crazy, unless Auburn goes nuts and goes 17-1 in the SEC, and they would get a number one seed, the rest of the number one seeds, it's almost probably going to be laughable as to how many losses they have.
Oh, Ohio State will I'll be shocked if Ohio State is not a number one seed. That means they'll have to get beat up. And
how many losses
10.
right now? How many losses do you think Michigan or Ohio State will have in the Big Ten?
They have one right now, right?
No.
In the Big Ten. Man, you gotta have
5,
4 to 5. I mean, 4. If they can get through this season, with 4 losses, that's like a 2 loss in a normal season. I can see them 4 or 5. I don't see them having more than 5. I don't ever see the champion of the Big Ten having more than 5 losses. Even in a season like this, it's as tough and unbelievably even-keeled as this one is. I still think that somebody that I think is going to be Ohio State is going to be the team that gets through it with 4 losses, possibly 5, but 4.5. That's the Mendoza line.
I mean, I don't think the winner of the Big Ten will have more than 5 losses, but I think it's very possible that they do have 5 losses.
I agree. That's possible this season.
Ohio State plays West Virginia on Sunday.
Ohio State has played a tough preseason schedule.
Yeah, they have.
How do they not have the toughest schedule in the country? They got to play in the Big Ten, and you've already played a rough pre-conference schedule. Crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, their schedule is not harder than what Gonzaga's I just mentioned is.
But you add the fact that they play in the Big Ten.
I'm saying you said pre-conference schedule.
Yes, then I was talking about added that to the fact
for the whole year. Yeah, I mean it is
crazy.
It is definitely, yeah. But I mean, you got to take when they played North Carolina. North Carolina was ranked 7th in the country. I mean, North Carolina's not even ranked anymore.
Ryan said he did make a mistake. He was looking at last year's Detroit Mercy schedule, by the way.
Man, hang on a second, Jim. You can take a page out of his book and somebody admitted they're wrong. Listen to that.
He didn't admit it. He didn't admit it. I admitted it for you. He just.
I'm just teasing you. You're sensitive around Christmas time. You're sensitive around the holidays.
We got to take a break because we just keep on talking. Loving it. Listen to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary. We're coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We got lots more coming up after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Coyle and Larry here on this December 27th. It's Friday.
Doesn't seem like Friday. What day does it seem like?
That's because it's got this jacked up holidays that we got. It's like a weird deal, which is awesome because then you get to do it all over again next week.
Yeah, it's just weird. Like I can't even figure out what day it is.
Wes Martin, rookie with the Washington Redskins from Indiana. Man, what a season. He's for a rookie, been going pretty well for him. Saw a clip where he's talking. I don't know who he's talking to, but it's Wes Martin anyway. We'll have a listen to it. So here's what Wes Martin.
Skins.com. One-on-one, I'm Gabe Henderson. Here with Wes Martin. Wes, I think you should have been credited with a touchdown last week. I'm not sure how Case Keenum got credited, but that moment for you, describe that.
Yeah, it was a pretty wild play. I'm pulling out there expecting the ball to get thrown. Case started yelling go, so I just took off running, trying to catch a block. I see the ball there laying on the ground, so you got to dive on it. So I did, and I got the celebration. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the important part. It might not go down the books as a touchdown, but hey, it all works out.
Case said that's how you guys screw it up in the huddles before the play was called.
Yeah, I must have missed that conversation, but hey, it scored.
For you,
he's talking to Wes Martin. Who there was a fumble in the I forget what, I didn't see who they were playing in that, but last week in a game he was playing in, there was a fumble right at the goal line. He recovers the ball. He gets up and he spiked it. He got to do the celebration, but didn't get credit for the touchdown.
Hey, we got the fun part anyway.
Absolutely. Hey, Tom Brew from Sports Illustrated Indiana is joining us now. Tom, how's it going?
Doing great, guys. In the car heading south to beautiful Jacksonville, Florida. Couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, I saw I looked up the weather forecast. 77 for game day next Thursday. So even though it's been nice in the central Indiana area, it ain't been 77.
No, it hasn't. And to be honest, in Jacksonville in January, you can get some cold weather. So I'm happy to see it's going to be a week of high 70s, and I do have shorts packed in the suitcase, so I'm ready for some nice weather myself.
Nobody wants to see that, Tom. Nobody wants to see that.
It's all about the comfort, Todd.
You're right. My bad.
Indiana taking on the Tennessee Volunteers in a game that it's kind of cracks me up. These two teams are both very similar because they're both fighting for relevance in a big-time football conference. The only difference is Tennessee has been to that mountaintop before. It's new ground for Indiana to try to get up there, but both of them are trying to get to the same place. They're trying to be relevant in the Big Ten or the SEC, and both have had good seasons, and a win here for either one of these teams would kind of push them closer to that goal.
Absolutely. When you look at bowl games, you always have to try to figure out, if it matters to teams or not, and who's going to show up and who's not. Like yesterday was a good example of that to me with Miami. I mean, they could have cared less about that game yesterday and showed, they get shut out by Louisiana Tech of all people. But I think with Indiana and Tennessee, I mean, both of them really, really, really want to end the season on a high note. It's like for Indiana, obviously 8 wins is kind of uncharted territory, and 9 would absolutely be uncharted territory. And for Tennessee, I mean, they were 2-5 at one point, and wondering whether their coach was going to make it through the season. And they got hot and they won 5 games in a row. But I look, you got to look at who they beat too, and so it's this may be the Tennessee Volunteers, but it's not the Tennessee Volunteers that we're used to. I mean, this is not a top 10 team. This is not a top 25 team, and they've got issues of their own. But I think these two teams are very similar, and I think we're in for a good game on Thursday night.
Absolutely looking forward to it. The only thing I wish is that they had Michael Penix only because, well, for a few reasons, but because Michael Penix got kind of turned out by Tennessee. He had an offer from them, and then they jerked it from him at the last second. And, man, would that have been an unbelievable story from Michael Penix to lead Indiana to a win over Tennessee.
Sure. I wrote that story earlier this year and got a lot of negative response from Tennessee people. And but, yeah, that's exactly true. I mean, the weekend before signing day, they pulled his offer, and then when they fired Butch Jones, Philip Fulmer, the AD, called the Penix family right away and said, we're definitely going to honor Michael's scholarship. And then when Jeremy Pruitt got hired, he called and said, we're going to honor your scholarship. And then right before they were getting ready to fly up for his official visit, and the weekend before, and then to go ahead and sign, they pulled the plug on him. And but hey, their loss is Indiana's game, and it's unfortunate that he is not able to play in the game, but his pal Peyton Ramsey will be happy to put a hurting on him for him.
Another injury Indiana dealt with at the end of the season was the loss of Stevie Scott. We don't know whether or not he's going to play. My guess is probably not, but the good thing is you got Samson James, a more than quality backup who looks to be back and ready from the injury he suffered in the Purdue game. He did a good job before he went down with that injury, replacing Scott.
He did a real good job, and neither one of them practiced in that first weekly go-round of practices. But Samson's been back out there now, and I think they're still hoping that when they get down here, if Stevie can run around and maybe play. But I think we'll probably have to wait to hear more about that on Saturday, tomorrow. I think, from what I've been told, Stevie really wants to play, but they don't want him to play unless he's 100%. And but we'll see. I mean, this game, the importance of this game, for Indiana, it's not your typical bowl game. I mean, it's just, for them to be able to put this exclamation point on this season, and to beat a team like Tennessee, it matters. So all hands on deck as far as I'm concerned. If he's 90% and he can play, then he should be out there.
And there's nobody, and I know everybody wants to win, but I promise you, there is one guy that wants to win this game more than anybody on the face of this planet, and that's Tom Allen.
No question about it, because it does a lot of things. It validates the hire in the first place, for one, but he's obviously gotten his contract extension, so I don't think he needs to be validated too much more after that. But to me, for as much of an importance that Indiana wants to place on recruiting in the South, to beat a team from the SEC on national TV with no other games going on, where every college kid and every high school kid in America is watching this game, I think that batter's huge. And and it's like, there's a huge difference between 9-4 and 8-5. To me, there's it sounds so much better. And then to win 9, like I said, it's only happened twice. So it's it's a big deal. And I think they've been approaching it as such. I really am really curious to see how they come out and play.
Yeah, me too. And another thing that I think has been a crucial importance for Indiana, and me and Todd kind of differed on this, is having Kalen DeBoer call the offense for them. I think it is just critical for the guy that has done it all year, that it gives them confidence. It gives Peyton Ramsey confidence, but also he's so good at what he does. I think it's just a gigantic advantage for Indiana to have him rather than not.
Well, absolutely. And, Well, I'm sorry I didn't hear Todd's logic for why that would be a bad idea. So I missed that. But to me it's huge because this is his offense, and he's been the only person all year long calling the plays and putting stuff in. It's not like there's a backup offensive coordinator. It's just if he had chosen not to stick around, it would have been a piecemeal thing, and somebody would have called plays who hadn't called plays all year and had probably never called plays in their career. So to me, it's huge, and it says a whole lot about the person that Kalen DeBoer is, because he's already gotten his head coaching job. He could have easily, like Mike Norville did at Memphis when he went to Florida State, he could have easily said goodbye and turned his back on his previous team, and he didn't want to do that. He wants to see this out, which is, I think that's a great testament to the type of guy he is, to be able to, stay true to his word and honor this out and be a part of it. And, I think it's great. And I know how much the players appreciate it, and I know the coaching staff appreciates it. And, just to have them all together for one last go round it's a tremendous thing in my book.
Todd did say one thing that made sense was what happens in the instance where you don't have that guy? What is the plan when that happens?
Well, there was a plan in place just in case, but it hasn't been divulged because I think it has a little bit to do with keeping guys around and down the road and in the future, and what the hiring might, how they replace him, might be. So I don't think they wanted to tip their hand with any of that quite yet. But no, like they have their offensive staff. I'm very impressed with them as assistant coaches. But none of them are play callers, so it would have been something new for, Mike Hart or Nick Sheridan or Grant Hurd or whoever would have had to do it, so it would have been an interesting scenario if it hadn't played out that way. But thankfully, we don't have to worry about that.
Oh, absolutely. But then the next question comes to mind. When they do replace him, I think they go outside. I hope they go outside because they obviously have the money. They've set the precedent. And this is a job. We were in the press conference where Tom was asked about people reaching out to him, and he says, my phone's blowing off the hook. And people want that job.
Yep, and that's true, and I believe that. But I also don't think he wants to put all of his quarterbacks and all these people through another brand new start from scratch system. And so if he wants to keep doing what they're doing, then he's got to hire an offensive coordinator that's willing to, be flexible with his own plans. And then we'll have to see. It's like, Mike Hart, who's the running game coordinator, as part of this, worked real closely with Kalen all year long on that stuff. And I mean, I don't know if that's part of his career path where he wants to, to be a coordinator. Obviously, he was very well respected as a player at Michigan, and he's gotten an enormous amount of respect as a coach here and a recruiter here. And if that's a path, then it's somebody you need to consider. And it's because someone on staff can basically run Kalen DeBoer's system, and all that's new is the calling of the plays. I mean, there's something to be said for that. So, I mean, obviously we haven't talked too much about that yet because it's still focused on the bowl game, but that's certainly going to be the important topic of conversation starting next week.
Absolutely, and hopefully a great game coming on Thursday. I'm looking forward to it. I think Indiana can get the win. Well, I know they can. I think they do get the win, and I'd certainly like to see them end up with a 9-win season. That would be pretty incredible.
It sure would. Yep, and I'm excited about it. And the team arrives, and the first media availability is tomorrow at 4, and I'll be there for it. And I'll have 2 or 3 stories a day, all day long from Jacksonville, all week long, and really excited to be there. Indiana's first Florida Bowl game. It's going to be great.
Yeah, this will be great, man. I appreciate it, Tom. Have a safe rest of your trip, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
All right, take care, guys, and Happy New Year to you. And let's all 3 of us have a tremendous 2020.
Absolutely. Tom Brew from Indiana. My phone started ringing there. Tom from Sports Illustrated Indiana. I hope he has a safe trip down to Jacksonville. He's actually spent a lot of time living in Florida, so he was down seeing some family and things like that. So a good deal for that.
I thought he had his own walkout music there all of a sudden that he was playing.
Somebody call me on the phone, man. What are you doing calling me while I'm on the air?
Did you notice how much restraint I showed right there? Just kind of sat here and kept quiet and let you guys.
I think you knew better.
Oh, whatever. You think I'm afraid to argue with Tom Brew? You're crazy.
No, it's not. It's not who it was. It just, but looking forward to that. It's going to be fun. Golly. I mean, plus that's a great opportunity for Kalen DeBoer. I mean, he wants to go out with a win over an SEC team. What better way to start your head coaching career than to come off of a bowl win over an SEC team? There's so many positives that can come out of that. So, I'm looking forward to it, man. I mean, I know Indiana, everybody's fired up. Tennessee's fired up. They want to win, of course. They've won 5 straight. Now, of course, those wins have all come over substandard teams, but they just happen to have them in a row. But I think Indiana gets the win. I feel good about it. I feel good with the fact that they have Kalen DeBoer down there, and you got Samson James back at least. And I got to be honest with you, I kind of like Samson James. He's a different type of runner than Stevie Scott. Stevie Scott is not a breakaway runner. He did not have a single – I don't know what his longest run of the season was this year. I'd have to look, but it could not be over 30 yards. And to me, a good running back, you've got to have here and there. You've got to have a bust where you've gotten out and you've ran one for 40, 50 yards. And Samson James has that kind of breakaway speed. We saw it briefly in the Purdue game. He had some runs there that went 10, 11, 12 yards, a lot of them. So looking forward to seeing him.
It sure just would be great to have both options. I mean, having both of those guys gives you a crazy backfield punch to be able to throw at a team.
God, I think back to when they had Tevin Coleman. That dude was a threat anytime they handed him the ball, and I don't care where you were starting from, the 80-yard or from 80 yards away, from the opposite 20, or from downtown Bloomington. He was a threat. He led the nation in runs over 70, runs over 60, runs over 50. It was nuts. That dude, you talk about breakaway speed. He had it.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. How much do you think it factors into? And I'm asking. I don't really have an opinion on this. I'm trying to think my way through it. But how much of a difference does you think it makes in the play calling based on what you're trying to recruit? So, like, let's say, for example, there's 3 really highly touted receivers out of Florida that Indiana wants to get, and they're going down there for a bowl game. Do you call more pass plays because of that?
Nope. They have one intent, I promise you, to win that game. And if they have to ride a donkey to run the ball, they'll ride a donkey to win the game. But I understand what you're saying. If you had that luxury that you knew you were going to win the game, you may be able to do some things. But they have one goal and one goal only.
Well, okay, but Indiana is not. I don't think Indiana. Like, what would you describe Indiana as? A running team or a passing team?
There's no doubt they're a passing team.
Right.
They led the Big Ten in passing.
So all we've talked about is the running backs. I mean, that's the only players you've talked about so far are the 2 running backs.
Well, I've been talking about them in this particular instance because Samson James has been hurt, and they've got Samson James got hurt after Stevie Scott got hurt. So it's important to have a running game along with the passing game, because when you do not, then they can focus on nothing but that. But when you can add a complement, when you have that threat, they have to at least respect it. And that's why it's important to have that, because when you do have that kind of balance, that makes you an uber dangerous team. And that's the difference between Indiana being an okay team and being a more dangerous one, is having that running game to go along with that passing game, because now they've got to respect both, and you're a threat in so many different ways. And it makes life difficult for the defensive coordinator, what they have to focus on. If they don't have to focus on this guy, and they can say, hey, let's just drop back into deeper coverage and just keep everything in front of us. It just makes a difference in that regard. It's just how good you are. I mean, you look at Ohio State. Man, they got J.K. Dobbins. They got a great running game, but then you've got guys that can throw the ball. Justin Fields throwing the ball all over the place too. Very balanced, a tough attack, and that's the difference between being great and being okay.
Yeah, I'm just wondering we talked about it being the only game on TV, and there'll be a lot of eyes, and especially recruits watching this game. And you know, I don't know why it is. I guess people who are not football people, I'll put myself in that category. You know, I like to see the ball going up and down the field. I like to see them throwing it, and I like to see long plays. And I don't necessarily mean bombs, but I like to see 15, 20-yard passes. I like to see like New Orleans Saints type offense going up and down the field versus, handing it to the running back. And
well, I promise you, Indiana will be throwing the ball all over the place next Thursday. No doubt about that. Hopefully they can sneak it. But the funny thing is when you do that and then you slip in, if you can slip in a run and the guy goes for 20, 25 yards, it's like that just demoralizes the defense. We're like, dang it, we've been back here holding it, trying to work on his pass defense, and you let that guy run for 25 yards. It's aggravating. It really is aggravating for a defense.
Yep, no doubt.
Yeah, I'm sitting there looking at a picture of you that somebody sent in asking if you're going to wear these shorts to Jacksonville. There you go. You can wear your IU basketball
shorts.
IU
shorts? Yeah. No one in the world, including myself, would want to see that.
You know, they're back to wearing – these are not that short.
No.
These are not that short. They're
Jim
like,
Coyle.
They're mid-thigh. These are mid – the ones I'm looking at here, this picture, it's a mid-thigh shorts. I think Indiana's kind of going back to that, aren't they?
Jim Coyle.
I'm asking a question.
They're not even close. Trust me. I'll bring those shorts with me. I'll bring those with me.
Well, maybe not that particular pair. They look like they go for a 12-year-old.
You can have an idea. How's it any different? What I'm talking about. Like, yeah, they're going to shorter shorts than what they had, but like I'll give you an example.
You don't think they're this short? I'm just asking.
No.
Well, this is not like the 50s when they were butt huggers.
Yes, they are. They're every bit that bad. You know how bad it was? You know the gray shorts like you used to wear underneath your playing shorts?
Yes.
We weren't allowed to wear those because they were too long. They would stick out from under our shorts.
And now they wear things that go down to your ankle, the leggings.
We were jockstrap and shorts. That's it. You couldn't wear anything else.
No room.
Nothing. You couldn't let it. You could not have them stick out below.
Who chose the attire?
Oh, come on. You know that answer.
Really? Right down to that too?
Yes. We weren't allowed to wear any kind of shirt. That's why our nipples were all rubbed off, because the shirt, what the material it's made out of. And from our shorts perspective, you couldn't wear anything underneath them that would stick out. So you couldn't wear an undershirt and you couldn't wear underpants. Like, you had to wear a jock and those tiny ass shorts.
What about an old man's wife beater T-shirt?
Nothing underneath it. Absolutely, he was so against anything underneath your shirt. It was not an option. Nothing. You couldn't wear anything. We could wear pasties. That's it. There's a visual for you. We all had.
At no point since I woke up today did I think the word pasties was going to be worked in to uniform conversation.
We had Band-Aids on our nipples. That's a fact.
Man. Boy, I hope that leaves a great
visual. The stuff you learn.
Hope that leaves a wonderful Friday visual for the fans.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Mercy. Well, that has all changed now because everybody's wearing undershirts. Everybody wearing.
Oh, they got comfortable materials now. Heck, they're wearing Lululemon uniforms now. You kidding me?
Lululemon, isn't that girls' clothes?
No, it's the most comfortable clothes in the history of the planet.
I thought that was for girls' clothes.
Well, it might be, but Todd Leary wears it every single day.
Every
single piece of clothing you have ever seen me wear, pants-wise, has been
Please
Lululemon.
Don't say it.
I promise you. I love it. It's the absolute best clothing.
Why are they?
World.
They should be sponsoring the show then.
Well, they don't need us.
Well, we need them.
I can tell you, it's the greatest. If you ever wore them, you would never wear anything else.
Wow.
And I'm promising you that.
Tim can't get that thought out of his mind fast enough. I hear you.
I didn't want to talk about it.
Thank gosh I ate earlier. Man, that would be upsetting.
Yeah.
Hey, we got games to pick.
What you want? How much money do you want to make? I'll give you some picks.
So today, who we got today? Today we got North Carolina Temple. I'm going with Temple just because I think North Carolina's a better team. They played Clemson tough, but you got the IU connection with Pat Kraft, and who is the football coach at Temple? Jake, look that up. That's a former football player. Actually, I can do it faster.
A former IU player?
Temple football coach. Yeah, how quick that is. Temple's football coach is Rod Carey. How about that? I don't remember him.
When did he play at IU, and what position did he play?
Well, I'm looking him up on Wikipedia. Let's see. Career 1990 to 93. He played for Indiana.
He's my age.
So, yeah, he was here during that whole deal. That's amazing. Where is he? Center.
He was a center? Oh, geez. So we know he's crazy.
Man. Yeah, he played collegiate center from 1989 to 93. That's when I was in college. Man, that's crazy. He's from Madison, Wisconsin, so he turned Wisconsin down probably. But so the Temple's coach is an IU guy. Pat Kraft is an IU guy. They're pretty IU heavy there at Temple.
Yeah. That's making you pick them?
Yeah.
You're going with your heart.
I'm going with Temple, man. I'm going with Temple. Yeah.
Okay.
North Carolina is a 5.5 point favorite, by the way.
I'm going to go with North Carolina.
Yeah, I'm going with the underdog. Temple, go. Michigan State at Wake Forest. Michigan State's a 3.5 point favorite. They had a miserable season.
Yeah, they certainly did.
How do you end a miserable season? If you end it with a win, then that's all great. But after you've had a miserable season, now you've had 3 or 4 weeks to just stew on how miserable that season was.
Do they have any sit-outs? Do they have any sit-outs? Do we know?
I don't know. They're not good enough to care about. So I'm thinking, all right, have they just been sitting around stewing and they're just pissed and they're done with the season? Have they quit? So I don't know.
Did you watch Miami play yesterday?
Oh no, but I heard about it.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, that's who was it we were talking about earlier that talked about that basically, huh? Tom mentioned, and that made me think about. I went to the Sugar Bowl back when Louisville played Florida a few years back, and it was kind of that similar thing. Florida was kind of pissed about being where they were, but they also kind of had this chip on the shoulder, like it's Louisville. Well, Louisville kicked their butt. That was with Teddy Bridgewater, and they ended up getting their butt kicked in the Sugar Bowl. So, yeah, that you see that happen, and Miami gets beat 14-0 by Louisiana Tech. I mean, are you serious? This is a team that has won more national championships in that short span than any team in college football, and here they are losing to La Tech.
But that was 6 bowl wins in a row for Louisiana Tech. That was a pretty impressive stat, I thought. But Miami, it was just incredible how it quit is. I mean, it couldn't be more accurate. They no more looked like they cared, but they had 7 guys, four just true sit-outs, four really important guys on their team just sitting out because it's not an important bowl game, and that's why to me they need to expand the bowl championship thing to 8 teams because you'll get more teams. Now, Miami still wouldn't have been one of them, so it won't matter. But I wouldn't care if they didn't have hardly any other bowls.
I'm going with Wake Forest.
You like Wake Forest?
I usually always I'll go with the Big Ten, but Michigan. I don't like D'Antonio. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't like their team at all.
I don't like him. I think he's a dirtbag.
How does Wake Forest play? Are they a passing team or whatever?
I know nothing about them. I follow them none. They play in the ACC, which is the worst conference in football.
So I'm not
which makes me really leery of picking them. But I'm
going Michigan State just because they're in the Wake Forest in the ACC.
Yeah. All right. Then now to me, this is the game of the day. This is the funnest game of the day. Number 25, Oklahoma State and the mullet, Mike Gundy, taking on Jimbo Fisher and his $7.5 million a year salary at Texas A&M. Texas A&M is actually a 5.5 point favorite, which they're unranked, and Oklahoma State's ranked, yet they're the underdog. And Mike Gundy is, I think he's just too dangerous. I'm going with the Cowboys.
You like that?
Yep.
Man. I don't know anything about either team other than I know they both usually score a whole bunch of points. I'm going to go against you. Just to be against you, I'm going to take Texas A&M.
Perfect. Another great game.
Couldn't name a single player on the team. I'm going to go.
I can't either. Only one person I know in the whole deal are the 2 coaches.
Okay.
Other than the 2 coaches, I have no idea who's in this game. The biggest rated game on the day is number 22 USC and number 16 Iowa in the Holiday Bowl. Iowa's a 2.5 point favorite. I'm taking Kirk Ferentz and the Hawkeyes to win that game. The Hawkeyes are just solid. I like them. I like Kirk Ferentz. I like how he runs the program. They're just year in, year out. What they do is win and go to bowl games.
Yeah, I'm afraid these last 2 picks we're going to be on the same page because I'm definitely going Iowa in that one. And I know you're picking Washington State in the last one, and I know I am too. So.
Yep, I'll take Washington
State. They're just fun. Even though they're an underdog, I like their coach so much. He's just so much fun to listen to.
Now, do we have any basketball games today or tonight?
Nope.
None.
Nope. You got 2 basketball games, but I don't know.
Tomorrow, big game. Of course, Indiana women taking on Michigan State out at Simon Scott Assembly Hall. Go out and check them out. But also a big game of the day, Louisville and Kentucky going at it. If you're a basketball fan, especially in this area, it's just one of those games you kind of pay attention to.
Well, you would if it wasn't on at the same time as the LSU Oklahoma football game.
That could be a blowout. Who knows? I'll be switching back and forth. I promise you.
Really?
Yeah, I'll be switching back and forth. As long as if it's a close basketball game, you got to watch that, man. Mainly to see if Kentucky gets beat.
Yeah, I mean the only time I've seen Louisville play this year is when they got beat by Texas Tech, and they looked so bad that, quite honestly, I think Kentucky will win that game. But I don't know how Louisville was ranked number 1. They must be really good, and they just played bad.
They beat Michigan pretty.
Yeah, I know. They beat them bad, like crazy bad. But I don't even see how. They looked so bad in that Texas Tech game. But that's the only game I've seen of them.
But see, Texas Tech is an older, more veteran, better coached team that's coming off of a Final Four. Kentucky, young, they've been beaten by obviously teams they shouldn't have, not just once. They lose to Utah, lose to Evansville. They're losing to teams they shouldn't, and there's a direct path on how to beat Kentucky, driving and kicking it out and hitting those shots,
making them make shots is the way
and that's the thing. And so. We'll see, but I'm going to go to Louisville just because I'm not picking Kentucky under any circumstance.
Yeah, I would pick. Hope it's a tie and they both lose. If there's any way that can happen, I'll take it because I could care less. I mean, if I was ever going to root for Louisville, it would have to be now. But
Louisville's always been. I'm so neutral on them. I couldn't care less.
They're so insignificant. It's crazy, and I love saying that because one of my high school teammates went there and played, and I just love digging on him and saying how insignificant they are, but they're like Butler. I mean, they're just insignificant. Well, I mean, they're there and they're pretty good and they're decent. I don't know if you
can say that, but
I mean, they're more significant than Butler. Give me a break.
Louisville's more significant than Indiana at the moment. I'm just saying.
Disagree. I mean, not from a fan base perspective. No,
I'm talking about in this like right now.
You're talking about rankings. I'm talking about
I'm just talking about
who right now. How many people care about IU basketball? A lot more than care about Louisville. How many people care about Butler basketball? Not near as many as care about IU. So that's what I'm saying. Significant.
I agree. I agree with that.
And that Louisville just. I lived in Paducah, Kentucky, which is about as far away. It's as far west in Kentucky as you can get. You've got to drive past Louisville University and the city of Louisville to get to Lexington 2 more hours or an hour and a half. And I did not see one single Louisville fan the entire time I lived in Paducah. Every single person roots for
That's
UK.
Because that's all UK.
It's insignificant. They're insignificant in the state. It's crazy. You either went there and love them or you're a UK fan. In the story. There's no in between.
Yeah, that's pretty much how that goes. But so those 5 games. And then how about the college football playoffs? So you got LSU and Oklahoma, and there's no way in the world I'm not picking LSU, and there's no way in the world you're not picking LSU. They're a 12.5-point favorite. The big game is the next game, the primetime game, baby, Ohio State and Clemson. And I am going with the Buckeyes. I want to see something different. I want to see the Big Ten win. I don't know. I think it's a toss-up. I think it's a coin flip because both these teams are good, but Ohio State's got the difference maker to me because you got Chase Young on defense, and he is going to be chasing Trevor Lawrence all day long.
When you say you're taking LSU, back to that game, like are you you're just saying LSU's going to win, or you're saying they're going to beat that spread? They're going to beat the 13.5.
Okay. Let's
because that's that's a lot of points versus an Oklahoma team that likes to score and has a great quarterback.
That's a great question. I think Oklahoma beats the spread.
Do you? Yeah. That makes it more interesting to watch.
Yeah.
And see that. I disagree. I think LSU will beat them by 4 touchdowns. But
4 touchdowns?
Oh, the LSU
28 points?
Yeah, they're that good.
Come on.
Opinion. I think
Come on, man.
I like
28 points?
I like it 20 plus.
Holy.
But the other game, like if I don't have a team I hate the worst, and then there's a second place. Like I have a 1A and 1B, so it's Kentucky and Ohio State for me. Like they're both just almost as bad. So there isn't a chance in the world I would ever pick Ohio State. So I am becoming a Clemson Tiger fan for the weekend.
Oh, whatever. Well, there you go. We're going to see. We'll find out tomorrow, and then we'll be back here on Monday to talk about it. We appreciate everybody joining us. Hope you've had a wonderful Christmas holiday. We thank you for joining us. We thank all of our guests. Thank Tom Brew today for joining us and everyone else we've had on this week. Wishing everyone a Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to Todd. Merry Christmas to Jake. To all you guys. Todd, you want to say Merry Christmas to everybody?
I'll say Happy Holidays. How about that? I'm going to go more neutral.
Nope. Merry Christmas. We'll see you on Monday. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle, and I'll see you on the radio.